Hello my dears, this is not specifically technically a princess profile, but I'm going to count it as one, both because I don't have a separate category for whatever this is, but also because if Anne of Green Gables could be a Disney princess, she fully and completely would, like voluntarily. Also, audio description for people who need it. I am a white person in their early 20s with brownish blondish hair, which is in 2 shoulder-length braids right now. I am currently wearing a teal dress with a cream-colored, like, pinafore apron thing on top that I actually made, which I'm really proud of. And I'm sitting in front of a bookshelf that has books on it and some photos on the wall behind me. So today we are going to talk about how every major character in the stories Anne of Green Gables is flamingly autistic and what makes them autistic. In general, as with every canon media analysis that I do, it is certifiably uncute to try to go around and figure out who in the world is autistic and who isn't. This is really only acceptable when it's done by somebody in the community trying to find representation in characters, not in real people, because we don't have much good representation, so canon is kind of our only option. Now, as we talked about in my neurodiversity and literature video, there are some authors who in every single one of their books that you read, every single character is so incredibly autistic that even neurotypicals start to notice it. One major example of this being Jane Austen. The story that I know best of hers is Pride and Prejudice, and the 2005 film with Keira Knightley really, pushed the extensive autism in every character home, and it was beautiful. I was super here for it. But anyway, with authors like that, you can pretty safely assume that if they'd been alive today, they probably would have been considered autistic because in general, every author is going to put a piece of themselves into every single character that they write. And if every single character that they write is more autistic than not, you see logically where that's going. And once you realize this, reading other books by that author is infinitely more fun because you get to read them with an autistic lens more than you would a typical book. L.M. Montgomery is one of those authors. So today we're going to talk about Anne Shirley of Anne of Green Gables, Marilla Cuthbert, Matthew Cuthbert, Gilbert Blythe, Diana Barry, and Rachel Lynde. My analyses will be based on a combination of the original text and the 1985 Kevin Sullivan Megan Follows Anne series. I have heard that Anne with an E takes the autism actually to the next level, but I didn't enjoy the adaptation, so we're not going to talk about it. And since last time I mentioned that I don't like Anne with an E, I had a million people ask me why. It's a fine show. It's a great show. It's very well made and it's great, but it is not very true to the books at all. And I grew up on the book and the 1985 films, and they were and are really comforting to me because of how much they take you out of your present world. Even though Anne is a very traumatized character and she deals with a lot of trauma through the books, her story is still very light and lovely and safe, and the show tried to modernize it, and that ended up taking you out of that dreamy, faraway place of Avonlea and instead focuses more on the darker aspects. And I think that that's cool, and it's important, and it's really great, but also that's a teen drama, not Anne of Green Gables. So that's why I don't like it. Anyway, moving on. Also, for what it's worth, the Italian translation of this book is just as delightful as the English version. I fully wanted to read it in French. I think it would feel even lighter in French because everything just feels lighter in French. If that makes any sense. I don't have it though. I collect my favorite books in different languages just because I think it's fun. And it took us 15 Italian bookstores to finally find Anne. And I'm still really excited about it, which is the only reason that I'm telling you about it. But anyway, analyzing characters is the point of this video. And you know what? Let's be spicy and do it in the order that we get to meet them in the book. Just for fun. Why not? Also, if I slip into a full Megan Follows vaguely transatlantic mix with Canadian accent for this video, I'm sorry. I'm also not that sorry. I had the accent for most of my childhood as a result of watching this film a lot. So first up, we have Rachel Lynde. We meet her in the first chapter, which is titled Ms. Rachel Lynde is Surprised, which I think is a delightfully descriptive way to start a book because, what is she surprised about? Who is Mrs. Rachel Lynde? Why did we get her entire name and not just a piece of her name? Many questions to be had. She's a very nosy person and always into other people's business because she's a curious person who is stuck doing boring home things, which means that she uses her curiosity for things that don't matter. She's also very judgmental of other people's social skills and their adherence to social norms, even though she herself very rarely follows many of those things, which feels a lot like if I can tell you that you're bad at something, people will think that I'm good at it because I'm telling you that you're bad at it, even though I'm also terrible at it, which when we discussed creepiness and cringiness, we kind of saw why that's an autistic trait. I say well knowing that the creepiness video, while written yesterday and filmed yesterday, is probably not going to be available for you for a while. Stay tuned for that. Anyway, it is a thing that exists, and it's how we make ourselves fit in when there's no other way to make ourselves fit in. That is by creating an us, by creating a them. And it's not very nice. She does it out of love, and she seems to be a really sweet and well-meaning human, but ooh, she's something. So that's her. Next we meet Marilla Cuthbert. She's the kind of autistic that is very practical and rule-oriented. She does not like change at all whatsoever, and she can be very, very stubborn and strong-headed and strong-willed. Anything that is impractical is fiddlesticks and a waste of time and energy. All things need to be sensible and reasonable, and there is absolutely no time or energy for frills or beauty. And based on her outward appearance, she seems cold and uncaring. But in reality, she cares a whole lot. She just doesn't know how to understand that herself or how to properly express it to others. Also, she kind of keeps the same strict schedule and routines kind of every single day. She wears her hair the same way every day, and she gets very overwhelmed in her own Marilla way when the sameness gets messed up. Pretty autistic. After that, we either meet Anne or Matthew first, and I forget, but we're gonna go with Matthew Cuthbert for right now. He is Marilla's brother, and he is one of the characters that even neurotypicals can look at and go, yeah, he's autistic. He almost never speaks. He sticks to the same routine over and over and over every day, and he lives in his work and seems to really enjoy it, though you can't usually tell because he also does not express emotions in your typical manner. He gets even quieter when he's stressed, though, if that's even possible for his character. He also loves to sit and just listen to other people, but the thing that stood out most to me in his character is that scene where he goes to the store to buy Anne a dress because he wants to surprise her with a dress with puff sleeves. But he gets really, really, really nervous, and he ends up buying like a rake and 10 pounds of sugar because he's not able to ask for the thing that he really needs. And I love him so much. He's just a delight of a human being, bless your soul. Then we meet Anne, and I think the first thing right off the bat with Anne is her temper and impulsivity. They're truly unmatched. She's not good at the like, take a deep breath and wait a second thing that executive functioning is responsible for. She also holds very strong black and white convictions and has a really hard time changing them, especially when she's told to change them in a fit of temper. And she is beyond stubborn about not changing her mind once she's made a decision. Like, she very well could have apologized to Gil after the slate breaking incident, but she absolutely refused. For like 6 years straight, and honestly, I kind of respect it. She also trusts people so easily, struggles with turn-taking in conversations, over-explains a lot to be sure she isn't misunderstood. She loves to collect things, and she's hyper-intelligent with special interests in books and writing and imagination. She hates social norms and really doesn't quite abide by them, though sometimes when she wants to be able to in order to fit in, she's not really able to, and she kind of struggles with that. But the thing that I most relate to about Anne is that she feels all of her emotions so fiercely. If she's sad, she's in the depths of despair. If she's happy, she's having the absolute best day of her life ever. And if somebody's disappointed in her or she's done something wrong and she knows it, she's convinced that she has ruined everything and she's going to be hated forever. And if she's angry, she just becomes the red color of her hair. But because she feels so fiercely, she is one of the only people at Avonlea who truly sees the beauty in absolutely everything. She's the one who notices and appreciates all of the little things, and because she's always glowing, everybody else around her glows too. So even though she sees and talks and thinks differently from everybody else, being the oddball who doesn't fit in because she seems to have just walked straight out of a storybook herself, that's what makes people love her so much. Even after so much of her life, she's constantly told she's unlovable and nobody wants her to be around and she just needs to go away and just be silent just by being her. Eventually the right people find her and absolutely adore her for precisely who she is. And that always meant so much to me when I was younger. Now there are many people who dislike the series because it seems super sugary sweet, but the thing is it's not really sugary sweet. It touches on a lot of really tough topics and trauma that Anna's gone through. You just see it through the lens of a girl who is just glad to be alive in a world as beautiful as this one after going through so many hard things, which to some people I guess does feel hyper idealistic and saccharine, but for me it's just my brain on a page in a whole other almost fairy tale world full of beauty and kindness that reminds me to look at my world the same way. And I can safely say that she is the main reason that I have been able to cope with some really horribly traumatic things in a positive and happy way and continue to feel everything at 150% and just enjoy the beauty that is this world. But we're not here to get sappy right now. Well, Anne is, but I'm not Anne. Well, I am though. Anyway, we have two characters left to cover. Diana Barry, Anne's best friend, she's pretty quiet, but there's a lot to learn from that as well. She's the kind of autistic who just does what she's told and doesn't fight it because that's easier than going on her own because that's scary and stressful. She's endlessly caring and kind, but really likes to stick to norms and rules and gets upset when they're not followed. Also, the way that she and Anne are friends, which I know that many people have talked about feeling a lot like the two of them are gay and should be together. I would actually argue that this is what platonic autistic friendships that are healthy look like. like a lot. I know that a lot of things that I've done in life, a lot of my behaviors people have told me look like flirting, but they're actually how I communicate with my very best autistic friends. We exist together and we care for each other completely and totally platonically, but with so much love. And it's a kind of love that only people who feel everything at 100% really can give to each other, and it's really beautiful to see. Lastly, we have the one and only Gilbert Blythe, and honestly, of all of these characters, he was the hardest one for me to come up with specific reasons as to why he's autistic, because everything that I can come up with, like being atypically self-aware and sticking really strongly to his morals, that was it, is probably more because he was written by a woman as the ideal guy for her protagonist. But I should mention that with the exception of 3 months in my Italy program, I have not been in a co-ed educational space, or space in general pretty much, since 8th grade, and memory loss deleted most of the pre-8th grade time, so I don't know what's considered normal for a teenage boy and what is not, so I have zero frame of reference. I will say that I thought I was straight for 15 years pretty solely because of the existence of Gilbert Blythe, so there's that. 2 things that my friend did mention to me, however, thank you for saving me, was that in the legendary scene where he calls Anne carrots and she whacks him over the head with a slate, that's a pretty typical case of an autistic person not realizing when they're upsetting somebody or riling somebody up. And the second that he realizes what he's done, he feels absolutely terrible and he keeps trying to apologize to her, though she won't take it because she's just as stubborn. The other thing is that he does that thing that autistic people do when they have a crush on somebody, which is that the person becomes a special interest for them. He hyperfixates on Anne so much, it kind of sits right on the border between really cute and romantic and like kind of creepy, but that's kind of where autistic people typically sit. But anyway, let me know what you think about any and all of these characters. I would love to hear about your Anne-related opinions and thoughts, and as always, thank you for listening, thank you for learning. Remember, it is never too late to start over, and I look forward to seeing you, my dear, in the next one.